Jack Bensimon, Managing Director, ArcStone Securities and Investments.
Michael Astone, Chief Executive Officer of ArcStone Securities.
ArcStone Securities and Investments is a FINRA broker-dealer. We're based out of New York City. We're focused on emerging growth and technology companies, anywhere between $20 million and $1 billion market cap that usually get listed on U.S. exchanges, and also as well as Reg D, Reg CF, Reg A, Reg A+, and the like.
So at ArcStone, we're a team of seasoned investment bankers, both in New York, Toronto, and as well with partners in Europe and Asia. We've spent more than 20 years on Bay Street and Wall Street financing a number of different sectors and clients from a variety of different industries, which we'll talk to you about more later today. The ArcStone was formed on the back of an acquisition of a New York-based FINRA broker-dealer that was called ArcView Capital. It had a lot of deep roots in the cannabis industry and was born out of the Joe Biden win to basically come up with the Safe Banking Act for cannabis. And our team with Jack and Raj and several other MDs saw the opportunity to create the first, north-south investment bank really focused and dedicated on the emerging market and innovation economy, and focused on applying a partnership approach to entrepreneurial clients so that they would have entrepreneurial bankers back them and provide various solutions, as Jack mentioned, the Reg Cs, the Reg Ds, and the Reg As, which are something that's become a very big marketplace and something that our clients are demanding more and more from us. And we're seeing less and less of that in Canada from the Canadian small cap investment banks focused on mining and oil and gas.
One of the gaps we identified in the marketplace early on was this north-south absence. So being based in both Canada and the U.S., the north-south nexus includes the U.S. dealer focusing on U.S. and Canadian clients, as well as the Canadian dealer, which is obviously a regulated entity with the Ontario Securities Commission, which we're in the process of going through an acquisition right now. So this north-south nexus provides our clients, both our corporate issuer clients and as well as investor clients, a unique opportunity for cross-border transactions, both in Canada and the U.S., and as well as Mike said, in Asia and Europe as well, where we have representatives that are facilitating transactions and various other business opportunities.
What I would also add is, coming from Cantor Fitzgerald and formerly at BMO and TD, we saw a lot of clients looking for unique solutions when accessing capital. You have, renewable Bitcoin mining operations, artificial intelligence companies, plant food companies, and these companies need to find capital to finance their business plans. Now, a number of the financial institutions in Canada and the US do a very good job covering institutional accounts, but the void in the market was connecting directly to accredited investors using crowdfunding and getting to the mass market, 320 million people in the US, and as well having that proprietary network of family offices and former public company CEOs who have very deep pockets and like to invest in early stage emerging opportunities, but just weren't being covered at the large financial institutions. And so at ArcStone, we have a number of our team members who've spent, significant years of their career dedicated to financing these high growth companies. And that gives us a proprietary edge when accessing capital. We canvass not only institutional accounts, but also family offices that we have personal relationships with, former public company CEOs who might have had a big exit and taken 50, 100 million off the table and now are looking to redeploy and get behind other entrepreneurs because they're very passionate about that. And we think that differentiates us in the marketplace and gives our clients an edge when working with ArcStone, in particular in these markets where we're seeing cost of capital north of 7 and 8% and more volatility in the equity capital markets. Our clients need a broader amount of solutions, and that requires a banker that's a little bit more creative, a little bit more entrepreneurial, and has more of a global Rolodex versus a geographic focused Rolodex like some of our Canadian competitors.
One of the things that differentiates ArcStone, unlike traditional investment banks, is a crowdfunding platform. We have a crowdfunding platform with license in 37 states, and what crowdfunding does essentially is it democratizes the capital markets. It allows average John Q. public to get in on a lot of deals that otherwise they would not be available to them, and simply because either too small of an investor or they don't go through a traditional investment bank or through the traditional channels. The capital markets are changing, and so we are empowering the average John Q. public, the average small investor, to participate in our deals, to participate in the work that we're doing in facilitating the growth of these technology companies, as Mike mentioned, in this new economy. So that is an important differentiator in terms of what we offer to investors in the marketplace.
Yeah. And also on the back of that, a lot of investors are saying, hey, I wanted to get access to that next Facebook. I wanted to invest in Uber. But by the time Uber and Facebook get to the NASDAQ or the NYSE, there's been a number of Silicon Valley institutions, a number of Wall Street bankers that have all had the opportunity to participate early, and therefore leaving out the average retail investor, the university student, the retired executive from participating in these early stage rounds. And that's what we've done a really good job at ArcStone, is identifying early trends, emerging markets, and high growth industries where we can go out and get a bunch of our clients, whether they're family offices or institutions, in early and then ride that wave and participate in that explosive growth. So we use our due diligence, our team, our network to basically scout the entire world by attending conferences, going to Bitcoin conference in Miami, attending the Art Basel in Miami, going to the cannabis conferences in Vegas, and trying to identify who are those next tier of companies that really have what it takes to be a high growth public company, that have the experience, and that we want to put our name behind, because we only have so many hours in a day. We only have so many bankers on our team. And so we're very thoughtful with the types of clients we get behind. We basically focus on everything from special sits to diversified industries, which is a very wide net. We have a light touch in mining and oil and gas. It's not a core focus of the firm, but we do like to pick and choose. If there's an ESG strategy around it, if there's an electric vehicle strategy around it, if it has something to do with battery metals or electric vehicle recycling. But we like to primarily focus right now on the high growth disruptive industries. And we're building out our team. We're building out a team of bankers in New York. We're building a team of bankers in Miami. We're building out equity capital markets professionals who can help our clients reach these family offices, go through these databases, and have more connectivity for more shots on goal to access capital for their business. And we've seen that resonate really well. Clients are saying we're not seeing that from our existing portfolio of service providers. They're kind of running me through the 10 or 15 institutions that typically like to invest in this stuff. And if they say yes or no, it's kind of stops there. They're not doing the webinars. They're not doing the access to the crowdfunding, as Jack mentioned. And so we see a tremendous opportunity. We're doing that with safe supply and this third wave of drug reform sector. It's very on vogue with my background because I had co-founded the cannabis practice at BMO in 2017. That led me to travel the world and really go into Colombia, Mexico City, the UK, and do a number of the deals in the space. And so it's something that's been near and dear to my heart and a big part of my career, and fast-tracking me from vice president to managing director at an earlier age, because I got to do just a volume of transactions that other bankers aren't getting to do in some of the other sleepier sectors like oil and gas or some of the other mature industries that don't just have the volume of transactions. And so when we saw this third wave of drug reform coming to fruition, as Joe Biden and his team recently moved to deschedule fentanyl test strips, and the Liberal government in British Columbia recently moved to decriminalize Schedule I narcotics at the start of this year, we had to read between the tea leaves as a firm and say, hey, this reminds us a lot of 2013, when some of our competitors like Canaccord and A Capital and GMP started to see what was going on in cannabis. They got involved pretty early and positioned the firm to be a leader in that space. And over the last 10 years, as cannabis has matured, those firms have made millions and millions of dollars in fee revenue, have taken leadership positions in new industries because they were first. And so we as a firm with Jack and our team have to make shots on goal and use our network and our credentials to say, where do we want to position the firm? How big is climate tech going to be? How big is EV going to be? How big are carbon credits going to be? And make specific and calculated strategic investments in people and technology and in talent and relationships, so that when those emerging markets turn, our firm is there and well positioned.
As someone who's got a regulatory compliance background working in the capital markets for the last 25 years plus, one of the unique things that we offer at ArcStone is an ecosystem. And what we mean by that is when we onboard clients, corporate issuers or otherwise, they get plugged into an entire ecosystem. So that means access to our family office network, whether that be single family offices or multifamily offices in the US and Canada. Some of these family offices are clients of ours and we're looking to do more business with us. So that ecosystem becomes incredibly powerful and useful for corporate issuers when they're looking to do business with it, particularly when you're facilitating the raising of capital cross-border between Canada, the U.S., and other jurisdictions as well. So unlike traditional investment banks where you go in and they do a typical raise, and you may not have access to all the other items that are included, that's one of the ways we differentiate, is in terms of plugging into that ecosystem, whether that be in Canada or the U.S. Often these corporate issuers need a lot of help. They need help in terms of decks, in terms of introductions, in terms of business plans and the like. It's putting together that collateral in a way that best assembles the story, the narrative, that best presents the story so that it present itself to institutional clients, retail clients, high net worth accredited investors, all within the regulatory rubric.
I agree with Jack. Look, it's our mantra at the firm and our DNA is taking a partnership approach. We're not a one and done. These are relationship approached files. We like to partner up with clients and become effectively an extension of their corporate development team, investor relations team, and quasi in-house investment banking team. Our goal is to have clients graduate from our platform so that we're walking them into Goldman Sachs and saying, look, we've been involved with this client when they were a $10 million client. We helped them get to $250 million in market cap. They've done 2 or 3 acquisitions with us. We've, helped them raise 1 or 2 equity financings, and here they are. They're ready for the next level. They're looking to uplist to the NASDAQ, and they need the help of a top 5 firm like a Goldman Sachs. And so that's really our mantra and DNA, to do a lot more than just raise capital and be a service provider. It's much more of a partnership. And I think that stems into our DNA as entrepreneurial bankers, as entrepreneurs ourselves, as partners that have family businesses that are entrepreneurial. And so that's what we're looking for at ArcStone. We like hiring entrepreneurial bankers. We are a team of originators and doers and movers and shakers. We do not chase fees, but we mostly focus on relationships and basically have the benefit of handpicking the types of clients we work with. We are fortunate that we are in a market where clients need a ton of help, and there's not really a firm that has put together the types of skills and tools and licenses and technology and partnerships strictly with this type of narrow focus for such a big marketplace of all these new industries, innovation coming as the world is changing so rapidly, and the prevalence of artificial intelligence and self-driving cars and carbon credit marketplaces that use blockchain technology and new ICOs for tokens and safe supply of this third wave of drug reform. And so these clients are not cash flow businesses yet. They're earlier stage businesses that need to access growth capital in order to achieve their business plans. And therefore, they need the help of an entrepreneurial firm like an ArcStone versus a large tier 1 Canadian bank like a Royal Bank or BMO, who's really well geared to bank much more mature companies like a Loblaws or like a Sleep Country that have mature businesses where they're lending lines of credits to and hope to get the investment banking business. This is much more getting involved in pre-revenue companies, seed rounds, Series A, Series B, taking companies public, merging 2 competitors together to enhance their scale and create a bigger, more public liquid vehicle, and then giving these clients advice about what are the best options for them. What are the pros and cons about accessing a crowdfunding? What are the pros and cons about doing RTO in Canada? What are the pros and cons about doing a direct list to the NASDAQ if you have that type of company? And then helping them navigate with our group of partnerships in that ecosystem that Jack spoke about.
One of the things that's really core at ArcStone Securities that we came together as a team is our core value on having skin in the game and putting our money where our mouth is. So for example, we have a venture based in Texas called ArcStone US Ventures. In only 5 months, I believe, we've invested in 4 companies. Now, these are companies that we believe in. These are companies that are part of the growth economy. They're emerging growth and technology companies. But it's just an example where instead of just walking the talk, we're actually going out there and putting our money where our mouth is and getting into equity positions or other in companies that are part of our rubric, are part of our narrative in facilitating the growth of these companies, not just as a client, but also as an investment opportunity that we foresee.
So from a safe supply and third wave of the drug reform sector, it's been something that's near and dear to my heart as a career investment banker that had the opportunity to found the cannabis practice at BMO and then most recently at Cantor Fitzgerald. A number of my clients and former clients, being public companies, CEOs for cannabis companies and psychedelic companies, are all seeing what's going on in this space with what the government is doing and what Health Canada is doing, and are building businesses around it. We were fortunate enough that we were at the ground level of the psychedelics industry when many people did not know what psychedelics were, what ketamine treatments were, what adaptogen nutraceutical mushrooms were. But therein lied the opportunity. We had the opportunity to invest in some early stage companies, get involved in them at 5 cents, 10 cents, and see them hit multiple dollars as the education to the broader mass market of retail investors turns on. We think this is exactly that same type of opportunity with the third wave of drug reform. The fentanyl overdose crisis is effectively killing more people than COVID did, and COVID cost the world billions of dollars in all kinds of stimulus programs. And so now you have to put your mathematicianal hat on and say, look, the Liberal government here in Canada specifically, with a taxpayer-funded healthcare system and running a huge government deficit, with not a lot of resources to rearm the police with or really build a wall in between the U.S. and Canada to reduce the amount of illegal fentanyl supply coming to the country, they really have limited set of options. Either they put this into the venture markets to access growth capital, have entrepreneurs that have a track record of working with Health Canada to build regulated businesses like they did in cannabis and psychedelics, and start to come up with solution-oriented companies that can help reduce the number of deaths. Because, look, these overdose deaths, and even if they're not deaths, these overdose are straining the hospital system. They're taking up beds. We have a taxpayer-funded healthcare system, which is just costing the taxpayer billions of dollars, when we can have companies come up with test strips or artificial intelligence mental health programs and some sort of safe supply regulated chain, whether that's through a nurse practitioner network or addiction clinics and treatment programs, so we can start treating the problem and work with clients to destigmatize the problem. Because, look, it's a sensitive topic. Nobody wants to talk about it. The reality is the government's already in many of the vice sectors. You look at tobacco, you look at alcohol, you look at cannabis, and you look at some of the other vice sectors. So it's just a natural extension to, instead of trying to fight, control, regulate, tax, get it off the streets, get it off the hands of children, use the revenue from the tax to put back into programs that can help reduce the deaths. So we think it's a tremendous opportunity as an investment bank to get behind it, because not only can we be saving lives and doing good, we can help these clients navigate capital markets, because these are highly regulated businesses. The securities exchanges are looking heavily into their business model. There's a ton of regulation of what these businesses can and can't do. And so they need the sophistication of a firm that has that boutique level of knowledge with the years of experience working in cannabis and psychedelics. And so we thought, one, we were well placed. Two, it's a big problem. We could be part of the solution. Three, it's a natural extension from cannabis and psychedelics. And four, why not get behind some successful entrepreneurs with a track record in these first and second wave, and position our firm for success.
So we recently released an extensive 50-some-odd page report called Industry Overview with Third Wave of Drug Reform, which was put together by our research department. It's a report that essentially discusses the third wave, all the key metrics, and we've got a couple of companies that are involved in that, one being Harbor, the other one being Safe Supply, and the other one being Safety Strips. These three companies are clients of ours. We've worked with them, and I'll have Mike expand on that.
Yeah, so part of ArcStone is to help our clients get the message out, not just find capital. We spoke about being an extension of their corporate development team. We spoke about doing much more to create awareness, from webinars to industry reports to conferences to outreach. And so safe supply as an ecosystem is a very nascent sector. British Columbia only decriminalized less than 10 months ago, earlier this year. And so the general population, the investment broker community, the investment banking community, don't have a good sense of what it is. When you talk to a lot of people about safe supply, their eyebrows immediately go, what are you talking about? Like British Columbia decriminalized schedule narcotics? Like why? Why would they do that? How? When did this happen? Where did I miss it? And there's like, but what kind of business is there? It's only decriminalized. How do you sell it? And so there was a lot of questions around this industry, who's involved. And we took it upon ourselves as a firm to build this extensive industry report as an independent third party to showcase, hey, wait a minute, there's actually a huge ecosystem here of fentanyl test strip businesses that are already into revenue, from Coca energy drinks, where you have some very senior executives who have a track record in the CPG field that are getting involved in this Coke energy drink because they believe in the power of this super plant that's been used for thousands of years in South America to treat all different types of wellness and nutraceutical benefits, all the way to what's going on in Australia with their MDMA regulations changing this summer, to, wait a minute, there's an article about Switzerland doing a pilot program. So we wanted to take it upon ourselves to put it all together in this 50-page document so that investment broker sitting at CIBC wants to read this and say, what's exactly going on here? And what are the regs? Who's doing it? I heard Ontario made an application. Olivia Chow mentioned it in her campaign. What's going on? You pick up this document and you can immediately get up the curve on this industry and start to see it's not an industry that's advocating for recreational narcotics. Like, none of us are saying that. It's a solutions-oriented industry to address a problem. The reality is there's a big problem here and it needs to be fixed. And the government and Health Canada are making these decisions to change regulation. And now businesses are going to be built around it like any other problem in the world. And so that they need financing, and we want to be there to help them access capital, help them build their business, help create awareness like this report. And that's what we do, not only for safe supply, but many other sectors. Carbon credits, for example, are still a very nascent market. Nobody understands really how does a carbon credit work? How do you go and buy one? And so what you can expect from ArcStone is more thematic type of industry reports like this, positioning our firm in some of those big verticals that we believe will fuel the economy over the next 5 years, because we definitely want to be part of that.
Deal Pulse is a podcast published by ArcStone Securities. It's a weekly podcast. We started this in November. We spent a lot of time going out in the market and looking at what the emerging trends are, who to speak to, who the key players are, what the needs of the marketplace are, the needs of the consumer. And this is really a forum where we bring on companies. Some of them we're working with, some of them we're really just talking to. They're in the space. And it allows investors to really understand where the trends are in the marketplace. So what's happening in the marketplace, where the growth is taking place, some of the challenges and obstacles in the various sectors and the various industry verticals, and more importantly, where the investment opportunities are. That's really, really important, because the average small investor, what we call the average junkie public investor, it's very difficult to them to work through the maze, a lot of distraction, a lot of noise in the marketplace, and get to really the thick of things, which is where are the investment opportunities, how can they crystallize on these opportunities and make some decent profits, and at the same time manage risks. Right? It's important to manage risks. So where are the risks in these markets? So we try to really help these investors navigate the marketplace. We're not making recommendations per se, but it's really just a forum to let investors know what's happening, what our role is, where we see the market heading, as well as providing a forum for these companies to showcase what they have and where they're going in the marketplace.
So one of the things I wanted to touch on as well is really what's the benefit of the North-South platform? I mean, why have a North-South platform? I mean, Wall Street's much better than Bay Street. It's bigger, it's been around longer, and the U.S. economy is 10 times the size of the Canadian economy. Well, therein lies the opportunity for emerging market companies. When you're starting a company in whatever sector may be, and you got a $20, $30, $40 million valuation because you're pre-revenue and you've just signed a couple of purchase orders, going down to New York, you're not going to get the same love and attention that you would be in Canada, just given the size and scale. And so you want to come to an economy like Canada because Bay Street, it has a very long-standing track record of financing early-stage companies, which is why we have the CSC, which is why we have the NEO Exchange, which is why we have the TSX Venture Exchange, because our ecosystem here of retail brokers and institutional investors is tethered to financing, go public venture capital companies. And so you're better off if you have an emerging market, high growth company. In many of the scenarios, coming to Canada, the auditors understand how to go through these companies. The lawyers understand how to draft prospectuses for these companies. The bankers understand how to position the growth stories and metrics and valuation for growth companies. And then becoming a public company and starting to execute for a couple quarters and really proving out your thesis and showing the market that you're on your way to your business ramp. And then you can work on an uplist to the NASDAQ, a much more senior exchange, and then move in lockstep that way. So we think by having this north-south platform, we're able to capture more winners faster than if we only had a Wall Street, New York, US platform, just given the size and scale, because it's all about being early and it's all about catching the client first. The loyalty of the CEO or the entrepreneur or the family office behind it, when they're walking around looking for their first $3 to $5 million, that's the hardest capital to raise. And many banks are taking meetings, but probably sitting on their hands because those are hard financings to do. And they rather just sit on the sidelines and wait for the company to go public. We're getting involved early, rolling up our sleeves, doing these reports, doing the webinars, giving them advice on crowdfunding, giving them access to family offices. So that client, that stickiness of the relationship, when you look over a 2, 3, 5-year period, if this company executes and actually becomes a $500 million company, they're going to remember that ArcStone was there for them in the early days when many people were sitting on the sidelines. And now we've created a very nice business and client, and we have that loyalty. And so when some of the mid-market banks start calling them, it becomes very hard to unravel that relationship. And that's, for me, as a former MD and partner at a Wall Street firm, that's what was my claim to fame, was getting involved early with clients. Even when my peers and partners said, look, you're wasting your time. This client's only $50 million. It's not going to pass committee. I said, no, I'm making a calculated strategic bet that this CEO is going to execute. And in 6 months, he'll have a $150 million company. And that when Jefferies and Piper Sandler and everybody else starts calling him, I'll win the mandate over them, not based on creds, because we all have creds. Every firm has its pros and cons, but I'll win it against on the relationship. And so that's what I think we're doing pretty special at ArcStone.